Welcome everybody to today's very extra special episode of the I Went Outside Today podcast.
I didn't say anything.
I like just how your face just scrunched up there.
It's not very extra special. It's normal.
I would say it's probably some of our best work ever.
This was the laziest episode we ever put together.
But you actually went outside this time.
I did go outside this time.
I am one of your three hosts, Chris.
This is Cheryl.
On a scale of 1 to 10, this was like -10 effort. I'm Sydney. I did the thing that I had to do anyway.
You did do the things, and even if it was the laziest, it was your strongest lazy effort.
Yeah.
And you might also say that the French translation of strong is fort. For where you went, Fort Edmonton.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh.
It's just pronounced differently than fort.
Isn't it like forte? Isn't that different?
Yeah, forte is different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We like our consonants as Anglophiles.
Mm-hmm. For
You're an Anglophile.
I am. And you are too.
How dare you?
Whoa.
So you can tell Sydney's coming in hot today because it's extra hot outside.
It's 1,000 degrees outside.
We are just charred skeletons talking into microphones that have somehow not melted.
I walked in 35-degree heat for half an hour like an idiot. So this is about 20% energy.
So anyway,
I went to Fort Edmonton.
you went to our local here in Edmonton, Fort Edmonton. And what made you go? Because usually Cheryl and I have to argue with you for days and days and days to get you to leave your house. What made you leave your house today to go to Fort Edmonton?
It was on sale. It was on a 2-for-1 deal where if you went to the Fort Edmonton or Tell Us World of Science, you got to go to the other one for free.
Seemed like a good deal.
Yeah, but then I didn't even use the other one because I gave my ticket to my sister so that she could do Tell Us World of Science.
Good job.
Yeah, I'm nice.
Mm-hmm.
Tell Us World of Science may be a future episode.
Yep.
We've already done it,
Oh, right, for your James Cameron
which
exhibit.
I also came up with
Mm-hmm.
because I had to do it anyway.
There's a trend going on here.
Was it also a 2-for-1 sale?
No, that I paid full price for.
Yeah.
And then I demanded a producer credit. But then I didn't listen to the episode, so I don't know if I even got a producer credit.
Call back to our Titanic episode,
Yeah.
season 2.
Yeah. So we went and we took my little niece, who's 6 years old, to Fort Edmonton, which I think is too young for Fort Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just so our listeners who are, we've got listeners out in Russia and Pakistan and Germany, explain to them what Fort Edmonton is.
So it's like this fort of Edmonton. It's the original trading post from the 1800s that was like, it's not in the original spot, right? It's a replica because the original spot where Fort Edmonton was is like on the river, right beside the river.
Yes.
By the legislature grounds.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, which I know from Gold Hunt,
Mm-hmm.
which was one of our other episodes. But then, so it has the fort, and then it has, it's like a whole museum. So you can do the whole fort, and then you go like, you're supposed to start at the past, and you come all the way up to the present, I guess is how it's like designed. So there's an 18-something street, and then like a 19-something street. And then they put in a carnival right at the front, which is new.
So you went to the carnival, which is right at the entrance.
So you get in, you take the train all the way to the fort, and then you walk through the park back up. I think that's how it's designed to be done. But when you take a 6-year-old and they see the carnival first, they don't give a shit about anything else. So we go in and she sees this big colorful carnival and all these rides, and then we get on the train, which was exciting, but then it takes you all the way to this shitty old fort with no electricity.
Where everything's gray and brown and not carnival colored.
And she wanted to get back on the train and go back to the front. So then I bribed her to walk through the actual park by telling her there was a candy store somewhere in the middle.
Which is true.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I don't think it's there anymore.
There's an ice cream store, though, thank God.
Yes.
It was true.
Yeah, well, they used to
Yeah.
have, like, sell hard candies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have any of that. I couldn't find...
Nope.
They
Not
only
anymore.
have, like, the stick candies now,
Mhm.
which is bullshit. They should bring back the candy store with the old-timey candies.
Yep.
They just had normal-timey candies. which is nonsense.
Like nerds and
Yeah.
yeah.
They literally have nerds and like cherry blasters and stuff. So then I had to talk her out of buying all that stuff too at the end.
Now there's a whole lot of different kinds of trains. What kind of train do you take back to the oldie times?
One that goes whoop whoop. I don't know. It's green. What do you mean? What kind of train? Am I supposed to know that?
Steam engine locomotive.
Is it a steam engine?
Yes.
Oh.
I mean,
Did you even go to Fort
I
Edmonton?
don't even know what that means, honestly. I thought you put coal in trains
so traditionally you did, but
and then you get steam.
well, so it boils water and it would cause steam, but I don't think Fort Edmonton actually uses steam and uses coal for their steam engines anymore because coal burning is bad.
So yeah, it's a green train.
And much like Back to the Future, was it 2, 3, where they ride a giant train through time? You also rode a train through time.
Yeah, but we just saw some clip clops and some trees.
Mm-hmm.
So
Your friends, the Clip Clops.
yeah, they're okay. And there was pigs.
Good
there
job.
was 2 pigs.
On the train?
No, they were at the farm. They were next to a giant sign that said, "Do not harass the poultry."
The poultry probably put that up.
Yeah.
Pigs aren't poultry, so you're good.
They're pig tree. So you ride the train all the way to
the fort.
all the way to the past, as far back in time as there has ever been in Edmonton.
Yep.
For white people.
Yeah, for white people, make that clear.
And what's the first thing you guys did?
Oh, we went into the fort and to I think that what's supposed to be the old schoolroom, but there was a lot of teenage boys and they scared my niece. So she was like, I don't think that's for me. And then she didn't want to go in any of the other buildings. I think she just found it loud and scary and she just wanted to go back to the carnival. What else can you do at the fort? So they got that ice house. They just show you old timey stuff. There's some boats. And then there's Rutherford House, which is a big wooden house.
Wood was very popular at the time.
Yeah.
The whole place is made of wood. Well,
Yeah.
the fortress part.
I wish you could go on top of the guard post, but you're not allowed.
I bet you could.
No, you're not allowed.
Who's going to stop you?
Well, I don't know.
Just tell me you have COVID
I guess.
or monkeypox.
I guess. Well, you can't really fake monkeypox. Wouldn't they see it?
I don't know. You've got a lot of bug bites while you're out in the woods.
I guess.
I'm saying you should have planned more, and then you would have gotten to go on top of the guard posts.
Well, I didn't plan more, so.
And so Cheryl and I have been to Fort Edmonton before. Did you get to see them with the gun practice?
I didn't see the gun practice, no. But also because I was also at Fort Edmonton for Dark for one of our post-Halloween episodes, where I got chased around with chainsaws and stuff. Everything was sort of vaguely triggering for me because of the trauma of last Halloween.
Call back to our of the park episode.
Yeah.
So you said you wouldn't recommend taking a 6-year-old there. Why was that?
Oh, I think it's just a little too young. It is basically a museum. There's a big museum that's outside. And then, they see the carnival first, and then they don't want to do anything else. But admission is $27. So I was we're walking through the fucking park. Oh, and I got her a pony ride, though. So,
Nice.
yeah.
That's a good auntie move.
Yeah, it costs $8 if you want to ride a pony.
I'm glad you're keeping score.
And, well, And they had littler ponies, but they put her on basically a horse, and I was oh my god, it's massive when they put her on. But she had fun, so they have pony rides there now too, and they have a theater that is not child friendly. When we went, they were talking about racism, and I told my sister, you might have to have a talk about racism later. Sorry, we took her to a not age appropriate theater.
The old racist talkies.
Yeah, I forget what they were saying because we didn't stay in the theater very long. I'm distracted. Sorry. He's licking the carpet, folks.
Yes. There you go.
He's fine.
Our new dog Freddy is settling in very nicely.
He's like a feet warmer.
And he's keeping the carpets clean.
Yeah.
He's a good boy.
Good boy, Freddy. Now I lost what I was talking about.
Theater. Racist movies.
Oh, yeah. No, well, not racist movies.
You were talking about how much you love the racist movies.
No, they were talking about how terribly they treated black people. I think they wouldn't let black immigrants come to Alberta. I think that's what it was about.
I think some people are still like that.
Yeah. especially in Alberta.
They could be part of the exhibit.
Yeah,
Yep.
100%.
So
But yeah, it's just a bit older than a 6-year-old. I don't even know what a good age is. When do you go there in school?
9 or 10.
Yeah, that's probably a bit of a better age.
Well, I for sure was going at like 4, 5, 6.
I'm sure I've gone when I was super
Yeah.
small.
I got to be there on a sleepover.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Slept in Rutherford House.
nice.
That's neat.
Me and this other kid kept telling ghost stories to each other within earshot of this third kid who was petrified of ghosts.
Nah.
Yeah,
Good job.
we're just one-upping each other with ghost stories of that very house that we were in.
But isn't there no bathroom there?
There's bathrooms there.
Oh, I never got to sleep over
It's
Rutherford
a
House.
house.
I used to just stand in the corner in the basement, and you don't even have to do anything. People just walk by and they'll get scared.
Imagine you're standing in the corner of the basement, like Blair Witch style.
Yeah, just very still, just
Nose
big
in the
eyes.
corner.
I have like big giant Disney eyes, but you know, in the dark they're scary. So
All black.
just chill, dressed in all black, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good time for me, not for them.
And evidently not for our niece.
Yeah, she was bored
Yeah.
of the museum parts. She definitely just wanted to get to the candy store, but she did like the pony ride and the chickens and the pigs.
Animals are always a big hit with kids.
Yeah. So that was fun for her. And then she's getting a little bored, so we took the streetcar up the way to the 1900s house.
Mm-hmm.
Old-timey streetcar. And hard to believe those are like everywhere around town here.
Yeah. And now our public transit is so bad that someone on Reddit drew like a fantasy map of the LRT system that we should have.
There's lots of fantasy maps of the LRT.
Yeah.
At one point in City Center Mall, they had opened up an exhibit of city plans that had never gone through, and one of them showed an LRT map that was just amazing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have terrible LRT.
Trains that go everywhere.
Yeah, we have trains that go nowhere.
So for our listeners that have not ever been to Fort Edmonton, it's possible that you've seen Fort Edmonton in various movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
So I pulled up a list on IMDb of the movies and TV shows that have been filmed in Fort Edmonton. So number 1 is The Assassination of Jesse James.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is...
Brad Pitt movie.
Yep, Brad Pitt movie. Number 2 is Ginger Snaps Back, the beginning.
Wasn't all Ginger Snaps filmed in Edmonton?
They might have all been filmed in Edmonton,
But not
they-
at the fort.
Correct. A TV movie from 1984 called Draw. Another TV movie from 1987 called Stone Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Another TV movie.
That was about Cheryl.
Hmm?
That was about Cheryl. Ginger Stone Fox.
The other TV movie they have is called The Last Train Home.
Did they use the train?
I guess so. Yep. Character jumps between freight train cars. Find his father who's been accused of murder.
I think it's only in films where you ever see someone jumping between the cars on a train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in real life, they're usually moving too fast for you to try that.
It's true.
A movie called Marie Anne. A movie called Give My Regards to the Ducks. I kind of want to see that movie from, from 2009. And a TV series that Chris and I actually watched called Fear Itself. And the episode is called The Sacrifice from 2008.
Yep. It's a horror anthology TV series, and the first episode was about vampires. And the whole episode took place in Fort Edmonton Park.
Is it known for its vampires?
No.
Oh,
They just wanted an old fort-looking place for the vampires to live.
interesting.
It's quite fun because, like, if you've been to Fort Edmonton, all the sets are immediately recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I didn't really recognize it in Jesse James.
Yeah.
I think they did some green screen and stuff.
Some movie magic.
Yeah. Is it cheap to film here or something?
So we used to, I don't know if we still do, because I'm not in the movie industry anymore, but we used to give a tax credit to companies that film their movies here as an incentive.
Didn't they film Brokeback Mountain here?
That was Southern Alberta.
Southern Alberta, yeah.
Yeah. There's been a few Christmas movies filmed at Edmonton.
Yes.
Nah, yeah, the one at the mall with Carmen Electra or whoever.
Yep.
So, Sydney, what was your favorite part of Fort Edmonton?
Leaving. No, I'm
Leaving.
kidding. I like the train. I like to go on the train.
Yeah.
The train, though, not the streetcar.
Why don't you like the streetcar? It's
It's
basically
not
a
as
train.
good as the train.
Hot takes from Sydney.
Yeah. And then my niece liked the carnival, obviously, the best. The good thing about the carnival, though, is because they had games, but you don't have to pay for them. It's like all included. Because I didn't know if all the rides and stuff you're going to have to pay extra, but it's all free, thank God. Yeah. And she really wanted to go on the Ferris wheel, but I guess they close it like 15 minutes before the park closes, and I didn't know that. So we like went over to get in the line, and it was like already cut off. And I was like, oh my God, she's going to flip the fuck out. All she's been doing is talking about this Ferris wheel. But she took it really well. And then I was like, let's just go in the maze instead. And she was like, okay. And I immediately lost her like 6 times, which was like heart stopping.
It's like a maze in there.
Yeah, it is like a maze in there. But they have these like tall stairs that you can get up to get like a lookout advantage. And I was just up there all the time trying to find her. And they're like, don't move. Like trying to go find her. Stay put. So yeah, she had fun. She really liked the carnival. But hot tip for anyone, apparently Ferris wheels close early. I wanted to go on the Ferris wheel too.
Well, next time you'll just have to start at the carnival.
Yeah, apparently. But if you started at the carnival, everything would just be all downhill from there.
So obviously you're ping-ponging back and forth between places due to being towed by a hyperactive 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Did you get to learn anything while you were there? Because
No.
it is a historical...
But I've been there so many times. Like, there wasn't really anything new for me to learn.
What do you remember learning from before?
That we were here in the old times. And probably, I often think maybe white people should have just stayed put because they just seem like the worst.
So if you're so against the white people being here, did you get a chance to check out the new Indigenous exhibit?
No, I wanted to,
Okay.
but again, I was with a 6-year-old, so
If you go listen to the trees,
Yeah.
they tell stories.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna have to go and pay another $26 just so I can see the exhibit. So I
There-
get to see it. And
there-
it's brand new.
There is one day a year where the park is free,
Oh yeah,
but you have to get up early.
I'm not a planner aheader or a get up early kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
They
So
should-
you'll never go to Fort Edmonton again.
I might. I might. No, I didn't really learn anything.
How much do you know about Fort Edmonton?
Everything.
Everything. How many Fort Edmontons have there been?
4.
Not including this park.
4.
5.
They said not including the park.
Yeah, the park is the 6th incarnation.
Whatever. That's stupid.
Do you know where the first Fort Edmonton was?
Yeah, I already told you.
Where, remind us.
It's where the lawn bowling is at the legislature.
That was where the final Fort Edmonton was before it got turned into a park.
No.
The original Fort Edmonton was actually not even in city limits of current Edmonton.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was part of Gold Hunt. We were wondering if we had to go up to Fort Saskatchewan because that was where the original Fort Edmonton was. They moved because of several years of declining fur returns and increasingly scarce firewood. They just moved upstream.
Because they cut down all the trees.
Probably.
White people. Just the worst.
Well, it gets cold in the winter here.
Yeah.
Real cold.
Mm-hmm.
If they were smart, they would have been nomadic like all the other people here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They would have just went someplace warmer.
Yeah, doesn't it make you a little bit mad that, like, some idiot white person was, like, just going to set up camp here and just stays here, and now we have to live here because all our stuff and friends are here? This is, like, the worst place to live. You're not supposed to live in a climate like this. Out of control.
Shout out to our fellow Canadians in the Northwest Territories. None of it.
They're
Yukon.
also out of control. What are you doing
Whoa.
up there?
Whoa.
Nonsense.
They love it out there in the tundra.
Doesn't the sun set at, like, 2 p.m. in the...
Winter?
when you get up there?
Yes.
Yeah. Out of control.
In the summer, they have some days where the sun never sets at all.
That's dope.
So Fort Edmonton 2 was moved to the Rossdale Flats area here.
Did they just move the forts, or did they, like, make a new fort?
They just made a new one and called it Fort Edmonton.
They should have just moved the old fort.
Feels like a lot more work than just cutting down more trees and building
Cutting
a new
down
fort.
trees is hard work. I watch Alone.
Yeah, but they were moving upstream.
They're always talking about saws and shit on Alone and how to conserve calories cutting down trees because it's super hard.
Then there was Fort Edmonton 3 that was only open for 2 years total.
Where was it?
It was up around Smoky Lake, Alberta, so way out of
That's
Yeah.
far.
Edmonton
That's far
city
out.
limits.
You can't just call everything Fort Edmonton and it's like 700 kilometers apart. That's nonsense.
And
How do
Let's
people
see.
find it? How do they tell people it moved? Do they put up a sign?
well, they moved there, but it was only active for two main reasons. The Cree had been encouraged to visit other posts to avoid violent confrontations with the Blackfoot.
How come Chris is allowed to read off his phone during the podcast and I'm not?
Because when Chris reads off his phone, he still makes his voice go up and down, and you just sound like you're reading.
Whatever.
This is what you sound like. This location was only active for 2 years for two main reasons. The Cree had been encouraged to visit other posts to avoid confrontations, blah, 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 with the Blackfoot. And then the generally more southerly Blackfoot refused to travel so far off their normal circles and consequently took their trade to south to the Americans.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Crushed it.
So yeah, basically, it doesn't really say why they moved other than to avoid confrontations with certain tribes. And then it wasn't popular, so they moved right back to Rossdale. So Rossdale,
Smoky Lake
was-
is like over 100 kilometers.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
so far.
but it's downstream, so they could just float all their things down the river.
It's silly.
I've had to work there a few times.
I don't think I've ever been there.
Oh, well.
So Fort Edmonton 4, they moved back to the Rossdale Flats area until that flooded,
Yeah, it's low.
and then they built it higher up in the hill, right around where the legislature is. That was Fort Edmonton 5.
That's very interesting.
Yep. These are things you didn't know.
I did know it. Just out of order and not all of it.
What else do you know about Fort Edmonton?
They have a theater there now.
Yeah.
They've had a theater there for a while.
Okay, have they had it the whole time?
Pretty much.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They've had a hotel too. that
I
you
knew
can-
about the hotel,
You can
but
stay in.
I didn't know if the theater was.
They have a fort in there too.
Do they? Really? What a coincidence.
I also liked how you lumped the 1900s blocks into one, because there's like three
It's the
1900
same
blocks.
thing. It's old timey, and they're like, "This is how they made bread in the old times. It took 700 hours." And I'm like, I have a robot that cooks all my food for me, so can't relate.
You're missing out.
Well, again, I was with a 6-year-old. That she's so funny because she'd just be like, "Let's go to the carnival," and then she would get distracted, and then she would get mad that we were still moving. So we're waiting on you. You're the one. Anyway, so we went to the hardware store. There's an old-timey hardware store.
Did you pick up an old timey saw?
I can't even tell you the difference between the 1900 streets. One of them has a horsey carriage.
You can tell by what kind of iPhones people had, usually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't check. Is there 3? One of them's an 1800 street.
1 second. Yeah, we'll look
The
it up.
1800 street has the pigs and the pony rides.
Do you know when the first Fort Edmonton was made?
Yes.
When was it made, Sydney?
When do you think it was made?
Back in the old times.
Yeah, me too.
Fort Edmonton, and we're talking about Fort Edmonton 1? 17?
Oh,
Can you guess the rest of the date?
92.
2 years off.
Ah!
94.
Damn it.
Way back in the 90s.
I knew
The
it.
1790s.
Yep.
Everyone was wearing grunge t-shirts and, well, they were all grungy because there was no running water.
Gross.
Especially for half the year when all of the water was solid.
Yeah, I just remember from going there in school, like the middle of the fort is like this big grass square. And then they tell you, like, in the old days, there'd be like dogs fighting over bones and like people just throwing their waste in the middle.
Yeah.
Gross.
Probably attracted the birds that you would eat later.
Gross.
Do you know who owned Fort Edmonton?
That guy. The Rutherford guy.
No.
The Rowand guy. I don't know.
It was owned by the Hudson's Bay Company.
Oh, but like the guy was there in the big house.
Yeah.
It's
Later on.
basically owned it.
So Hudson's Bay Company is currently a department store chain here in Canada, but its history goes way back into basically when Canada was colonized.
And they still sell those stripy blankets, like the iconic old-timey stripy blankets. And it's like, didn't you give those to indigenous people with smallpox in them?
No, they did not do that.
Oh.
Yeah, if you want a good podcast on that, you can listen to The Secret Life of Canada.
I thought we were just running around giving people smallpox.
No.
Because of like milkmaids and stuff. And
No.
like cows and they didn't know. And
No.
I don't know. I watched Guns, Germs, and Steel. And I just felt like that was enough learning.
That's fair.
So way back when the Hudson's Bay Company was a fur trading corporation, because basically fur was big in the olden times, mostly because it was cold here, and it was also cold back home in Europe. But the corporation, for most of Canada, they were the de facto government.
Oh, yeah. She was also horrified by all of the fur skins.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrified. So I remember like going as a kid and they would pick up like a beaver skin and be like, this used to be a beaver. And you would like pet it and then you'd move on. But she like hated it.
That's fair.
She's like, animal skins belong on the body. Fair enough.
So before our listeners yell at us, there are 4 zones at Fort Edmonton. The fort itself, which is 1846, then 1885 Street, 1905 Street, and 1920 Street.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the carnival?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So back to one of the owners that you had talked about of Fort Edmonton that you thought owned the whole place.
The guy.
The guy. So Rowand House. Did you know his house was called Rowan's Folly?
Is it called Rowan House? It's not called Rutherford House. Rutherford House is on campus.
Yes, that's correct.
There's also a Rutherford House at Fort Edmonton.
Which one's the Rowan House and which one's the Rutherford House? What's the big one?
The big one's probably Rutherford House.
Yeah. The really big one.
Are you talking in the fort?
In the fort.
Then that's the Roland House.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know.
Yeah, Rutherford House is on one of the other streets.
So Rowan House was called Rowan's Folly. It's basically you built this giant house in the middle of a Hudson's Bay fort, which is like the store. So imagine you built your house where you work, and then people feel like they're entitled to your attention all the time.
I've threatened to do it many times, so build a house and live in my office. I don't like to commute.
And while I was researching this Rowan guy on internet, I found like some weird tidbits about him. As the boss of the Fort Edmonton there, he was regarded, this is from Wikipedia, Rowan was regarded as something of an ill-tempered taskmaster by the workers under him. When they misbehave, I will tell them of it without fearing to hurt their feelings. They must do their duty as I was made to do mine. And his high expectations of the workers also showed in his little sympathy for illness. He was heard to have said at one point that any man who is not dead after 3 days' sickness is not sick at all.
That's toxic work culture. That's why people quiet quit.
There was no human resources back then.
Yeah. Human resources isn't your friend anyway, though.
The other weird part about him was his death. So the way he died was, he just died of a heart attack. So it was one of his instructions that his bones were not to be left in the Indian country, which he called this area.
Well, that's racist.
But moved to Canada and interred near those of his own father. Because this wasn't really Canada, it was more like a
Where was Canada?
territory back then. Upper and Lower Canada.
So like Ontario, Quebec.
Ontario is Canada.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's far from here.
Mm-hmm.
Especially back then when you don't have any high-speed transportation. So you can't transfer a body that long without it completely decomposing.
We still don't have high-speed transportation. We have no high-speed rail.
We have airplanes.
And our planes don't take off and they just lose your fucking luggage. Air Canada's got named one of the worst airports in the world.
We don't have just Air Canada here though.
Air Canada's the worst.
So basically, to meet his father's wishes, one of his sons had his, his cadaver was boiled down to the bones. His remains, so the bones were brought to be interred, but they also had this remains that were boiled off.
Ew.
They were pickled in a keg of rum and shipped overland.
Gross.
So imagine some guy, UPS way back in the day, has a skeleton in one box and a barrel of human juice in the other, just to meet this guy's dying wishes.
Ew. Pretty sure that's illegal nowadays.
Probably, yes.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure
I'm
it falls
pretty sure it
into
would be.
Desecrating a body.
But it's their final wish.
There's laws about what you can do with human bodies.
Yeah.
If anyone knows for sure,
Yeah, please contact us.
Please email us or comment.
Even in ashes, there's rules. Like, lots of people take their loved ones' ashes and try and throw them on the haunted mansion ride at Disneyland, and they get real mad.
Yeah.
Because then they have to stop the ride and bring in a biohazard team.
Yeah. You're also not supposed to scatter them at, like, national parks.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, throwing ashes on the haunted mansion would just lead to more ghosts, which would mean to longer lineups for the haunted mansion.
That's true.
I don't know. I don't want someone's people ashes all over me.
So, Sydney,
What?
going back to the topic of a UPS driver going across the country with a bucket of bones and a barrel of human guts.
Uh-huh.
What would you like to have happen to your body?
I want to
if
be
you
turned
die?
into a diamond.
A diamond?
Yeah. A black diamond.
And then what will happen to that black diamond?
I would just like to travel around and curse people.
Much like your bean pendant
Yeah.
is doing right now,
Yeah. Wherever it may be in the world.
after you lost it.
Yep. Still don't know where it is.
Have you figured out who you're going to get to send your diamond all over the world?
No, just leave me on a bench.
Should also tell you that I think Cheryl and I found out recently that when people's remains are turned into diamonds, the amount of carbon in a human body is so absurdly low that they have to throw in other stuff to actually have a diamond worth having.
Well, they're going to have to throw in stuff anyway because I want to be a black diamond.
Good job.
Do what you got to do.
Okay.
Do what you got to do, diamond people.
I'll go throwing all our trash and garbage in there until it turns a nice black.
Excellent.
What about horses? All the horses.
No horses.
Yeah.
I'll find you.
Horse bones?
That's mean.
You won't find me. You'll be in a diamond that's being shipped around the world.
I'll haunt you.
So you're saying nay to horse remains.
I hate this podcast and I hate you guys.
So, in Edmonton, one of the main roads is called the Anthony Henday. We're now just going to go into some general Edmonton history. So one of the main roads in Edmonton is called the Anthony Henday. Do you know anything about Anthony Henday?
Who's this guy
Mm-hmm.
doing stuff?
Tony Henney, known to his friends.
Tony Henney.
So apparently he was made an outlaw in the mid-18th century in Britain before he crossed over into Canada to work for the Hudson's Bay Company.
Yeah, isn't that why everybody's here?
Yes, but in 1755 he was believed to be the first white man to spend an entire winter in what is now Edmonton.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we have him to blame for our current predicament.
That is correct.
What do you live in? A house?
I would imagine a cabin of some sort. So, this history is about Edmonton's first mayor. Do you know who Edmonton's first mayor was?
Yeah, he was this guy. White guy.
What was his name?
White guy Steve.
So his name was Matthew Macaulay,
I knew that.
which the Macaulay neighborhood is named after.
I knew it.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Captain Tractor. They're the ones who originally got me interested in this subject. This is called the Rat Creek Rebellion. So this story takes place in Edmonton. The federal government wanted to take the land titles that Edmonton had and ship them across the river into Strathcona County, which, for those of you who don't know where Strathcona County used to be, Old Strathcona is like an area in Edmonton. It used to be its own town, and eventually it amalgamated with Edmonton. But prior to that point, the plan was for them to take those land titles and move them to Strathcona. An angry mob in Edmonton basically got together with guns to try stop them from loading the land titles into a wagon to bring them across the river. They figured that this was not a good idea because the land titles, there were only a few offices here and there, and so typically wherever the land titles office was, you would have more business. But people were tired of going across the river, so that was their plan of bringing it across Strathcona. Mm-hmm. So what ended up happening, after this whole thing went down, where this mob was like, nah, you're not taking this stuff, they dispatched the RCMP. So Ottawa was like, okay, let's not do this. We're gonna send the RCMP, which is our Royal Canadian Mounted Police, to Alberta, Edmonton, to try deal with this thing. So Matt Macaulay, who was our first mayor, went down to Rat Creek and met up with the lead RCMP officer, who is actually Griesbach, which is one of the newer communities in Edmonton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big horsey statue.
Correct.
Your
Good
favorite.
Pokemon Go spot.
Yep. So they met on the bridge over top of the Rat Creek Ravine, and Matt McCauley said to him, if you guys come here to try steal like the land claims from us, there's going to be a war, and you and I are going to be the first people to die because I'm not going down without a fight. So they made peace. It's like, okay, fine, we'll just leave them where they are. We're not going to do this because the government requires people to vote for them, so they don't want to piss off the people in Edmonton. So they were just like, fine, the land titles can stay here. But because of this whole incident that occurred, the RCMP were like, well, we don't have jurisdiction in Edmonton anymore. And that was the start of the Edmonton Police Service, because we were told that we needed to get our own constables and our own officers and our own everything else because they were refusing to come in and enforce the laws in Edmonton.
That seems very on brand for Alberta.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I 100% believe that.
Yeah.
Angry Mob was the first freedom convoy.
Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And now we want our own provincial police again.
Yes, we do.
I mean, not everyone wants that.
No.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So
Well, some people want that.
So the only thing left of the Rat Creek Ravine is actually a pump house along the North Saskatchewan River in Dawson Park. For my last piece of Edmonton history, and it was actually really hard to find Edmonton history on the internet. I don't know why, but whatever.
No one cares about us.
I guess so. On January 28th, 1965, at 2:30 a.m., a man bombed 3 American warplanes being retrofitted at an airport in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Jesus. Also on brand.
Yeah, also on brand.
Also on brand.
So this was a protest against the Vietnam War. Yeah. So security guard was bound and gagged and then shot with a rifle when the perpetrator entered the airport.
Oh.
2 F-84 jets were destroyed, and a third was heavily damaged by the bombing.
Yikes.
Yeah. The guy who did this bombing was found guilty and was sentenced to hang, but upon appeal and a new trial, he pleaded guilty to non-capital murder and was sentenced to life in prison. He was released, turned his life around, married, and ran a successful business until finally dying in 2005 in Kingston, Ontario.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
And I've got one more piece of trivia here for you, Sydney.
I already know it.
So our city's name,
Edmonton.
do you know what it's named after?
Yep.
What's it named after?
I don't know, some guy. You mad because I write?
Kinda, sorta. You're half right. So it's been named after Edmonton in Middlesex, England.
Is that
Not-
named after some guy?
Not top sex or bottom sex, Middlesex.
Uh-huh. I bet you that's named after some guy.
And it was named because a lot of the people who formed the original settlement, they were from there. Some of the more influential muckety mucks. So they just thought, we'll take that old place name and name this that.
I wonder if that's why the Edmonton outside Cairns is named Edmonton.
Probably.
And so
The British need to chill out, stay put, quit naming everything after their damn selves.
Edmonton derives from Adelmaton. Adelmaton? Adelmaton.
Is that some guy?
So it means farmstead of Edhelm.
That
A
sounds
lot
like
of-
some guy.
There's like a little line on top of the E.
Boom, crushed it.
Meaning farmstead estate of Edhelm. From Edhelm, an Old English personal name, and Tun, which is the farmstead.
I'm going to take a win for that.
We're named Edelham's Farmstead.
Accurate representation of this area.
Edmonton is the 5th largest city in Canada.
And also on my phone app, when I tried to have like a dual clock and I wanted it to be like, it'll show you the time of where you are in another city. You can't even pick Edmonton. You can only pick Calgary, which I find extremely offensive.
That was coded by a Calgarian.
Yeah, it was. I know it was. Stupid Calgary.
I like to shorten it to the Gary.
The Gary.
Edmonton is the northmost city in North America with over 1 million people.
I knew that. We're on the same latitude as Moscow or some shit like that.
And Edmonton is one of the sunniest cities in Canada with an average of 325 sunny days.
I knew that too.
My last Edmonton fact, which this is kind of cool. The Edmonton River Valley, which if you look at our Instagram and our Facebook, I share a lot of pictures from the Edmonton River Valley because I spend a lot of time there. It is the largest urban green space in North America at 7,300 hectares, which is larger than all of Manhattan in New York City and 18 times larger than Stanley Park in Vancouver.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We big.
It's
We
a
big.
big old carbon
Yep.
sink.
We're considered the gateway of the North because of the railroad, road, and air connections to the communities in the far north.
We're also the birthplace of the man who invented the donair.
That's right.
And we invented cold effects.
Yeah, cold effects.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Wasn't it the one that was in, like, got sued for being a scam?
Yes.
Also
Okay.
very on brand
Yes.
for Alberta.
Also very on brand for Alberta.
Is it a scam? They still sell it.
Yeah, it's been proven to not actually work.
They made some claims that
Yes,
weren't real.
correct.
It can't cure a cold, but you take it when you start feeling sick for like symptom relief or some shit. I don't know.
That's what they say now.
Mm-hmm.
But did they say it could cure a cold when it came out?
I think they claimed it would stop a cold.
Which is the same as curing a cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which it doesn't do.
They can't do that.
No.
Advertising weasel words.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's like when you say
There's
we're
no
the
cure for the common cold.
best cold relief company in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You have to qualify best because it could mean anything.
Yes. Several major chain restaurants also were started in Edmonton.
Boston pizzas.
Yep. Earl's, Booster Juice, Famoso, and Sawmill.
Oh, I didn't know that Famoso started
Yeah,
here.
I didn't know that either until today.
Good job, Famoso.
They make
Famoso does
good
not
pizza.
travel well. You got to go to the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The coldest temperature ever recorded in Edmonton was minus 49.4 degrees Celsius, which is minus 56.9 in Fahrenheit for our American listeners.
I think I've been in minus 50, but in the Great White North.
Yeah.
Not here.
And that temperature was recorded on January 19th and 21st of 1886. The highest temperature ever recorded was 37.2 degrees Celsius.
Wait,
which
sorry. Is that with wind chill?
That I don't know.
Oh, okay.
The highest temperature ever recorded in Edmonton was 37.2 degrees Celsius, which is 99 degrees Fahrenheit,
It's like last year.
on June 29th, 1937.
I think that's old because we've hit 40.
I definitely haven't been here for it hitting 40.
I think it also depends where they're taking the temperature.
That's
Or maybe
true,
they
too.
just always forecast that it could hit 40, but then it doesn't actually hit 40.
Mm-hmm.
I think like areas of town definitely hit 40, where others are like only 35, and probably due to lack of natural vegetation. acting as
Yeah,
a
and
heat
it's going to
sink.
be worse wherever there's concrete and that kind of thing too, and it's just bouncing back up at you.
Yeah. The Margaret Ziegler Theatre at Tell Us World of Science is Canada's largest planetarium.
You know something my mom was ranting about before I came here today? Apparently, like we're like the first planetarium.
Yeah.
For people to have a planetarium.
Yep.
And we just always have free telescopes here. And if you go to Calgary, you got to pay $10 to look at the telescopes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Cheap bastards.
That's another reason not to go to the Gary.
Yeah. Don't go to the Gary. They're going to charge you to look at the night sky, which is literally free.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the telescope's not free, but
My last Edmonton fact, otherwise I'll just
make
keep
it
going.
a good one.
Yeah, this one's actually really interesting to me.
Pressure's on.
Edmonton Public Schools offers the only Mandarin bilingual program from kindergarten to grade 12 in North America.
Oh, that's neat.
And it has been described as having the best Chinese language program outside of China.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, that's pretty crazy. So good for us.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So Sydney, would you recommend people go to Fort Edmonton Park and check it out for themselves?
Yeah, go check it out for yourself. Have a little look around. Don't bring a 6-year-old. They don't want to go.
And Sydney, would you recommend people go to Edmonton to check it out for themselves?
No.
Whoa.
One is inside of the other, so
No. No, it's okay here. If you got a friend here, you could come. I don't know why you would come here if you don't have a friend.
For the biggest mall in the world.
Ugh, gross.
Well, it's not the biggest mall in the world anymore, but
mhm.
it used to be.
Oh, have we been overtaken?
Yeah, we've been overtaken.
Well, I worked in it when it was the biggest mall in the world.
Yes,
so.
good job.
I think we're number one for amount of stores, though.
Yes, I think so too.
Probably because all them kiosks.
Oh, you can't count the kiosks.
Well, I think that takes us to the end of today's extra special episode of the I Went Outside Today podcast. This is your host, Chris, signing off.
This is Cheryl.
And I'm Sydney. I did the thing. And I paid for it, so I want a producer credit.
Thanks for listening to today's very special episode of the I Went Outside Today podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, spread the joy and share us with your friends or leave a review.
If you really enjoy our podcast and you want to support us in doing more episodes, consider donating to our Patreon or leave us suggestions in the comment section on our website or social media. Or you can email us at iwentoutside.pod@gmail.com.
And make sure you follow us on our social medias. We got Twitter. We got Facebook. We don't got Snapchat because that's for creeps.
We don't have Twitter.
We don't have Twitter.
Facebook and Instagram.
We got Facebook, Insta.
Oh, fuck. Okay. I'm not going to do it again. It's not going to be as good. Why don't we have Twitter? We got Facebook. We got Instagram. And you can see all our photos and adventures that don't get turned into episodes because every day of our life is an adventure. Bye.